What's going on, everyone? It is the Derf, and in today's video, it's spooky time. With Halloween right around the corner, I've got a scary good Void Warlock build that rivals and in most cases beats most of the meta buddy builds you currently see in the sandbox here in Destiny 2. So if you've been looking for a great Warlock build that centers around DPS, infinite healing, lots of orb generation, and of course, tons of debuffing in the endgame activities you might find yourselves in, this is the build for you. Huge shout out to anyone currently watching this video. The channel just hit 3,000 subs, and I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for your support. I truly appreciate it. So if you do find anything helpful in this video, even if you are a first-time viewer of the channel, please consider liking and subscribing, sharing with a guardian in need. My goal is to help as many people as possible. Now, without further delay, it's spooky time. Here we go. To get us started with our spooky time Voidwalker subclass, we got to talk about the super. Super of choice is going to be Nova Bomb, Cataclysm, hurl an explosive bolt of void light at a target, disintegrating those caught within its blast. Nova Bomb travels slowly and seeks targets. Detonation shatter into smaller sequel projectiles. This is going to be your best for instant DPS. There are some people out there that really like the Nova Warp or the Nova Bomb Vortex, but the Cataclysm, it just works the best, especially when you know that you're going to be getting it back ridiculously fast. You can hurl this thing in the middle of portal activities, certainly at bosses, and when you are doing things like raids or dungeons where there are set damage phases, you'll always have a Nova Bomb ready to kick those off. For abilities, I prefer the Healing Rift, Burst Glide, of course we've got Pocket Singularity, and then pivotal to this build is going to be the Axion Bolt, a bolt of void light that forks on impact into smaller bolts and seeks out targets. Now, if you've never played around with Axion Bolt, I encourage you to go to the shooting range, just whatever difficulty you want, and mess around with it so that way you get used to how it functions, how far you throw it, and what you can expect to happen every time that you use it. For aspects, first up is Chaos Accelerant. If we go down to the Axion Bolt, detonates twice and has enhanced seekers. Now this is going to get further buffed once we go through our exotic armor, but basically we're going to have better tracking, and it's also going to detonate twice in a specific diameter on the battlefield, so you'll be able to capture hopefully more enemies in it. Next up is going to be Feed the Void. Defeat a target with a Void ability to activate Devour. Your Devour effects are improved, restoring additional health and grenade energy. And of course, Final Blows restore health, grant grenade energy, and extend Devour. Now, some might make an argument that it might be a good idea to roll around with Child of the Old Gods. However, unless you are dealing with just bosses or very slow-moving targets, the amount of damage you're going to be able to do with your Axion Bolt is going to kind of trump the ability to take full advantage of Child of the Old Gods. Now, that's not to say this isn't going to be worth your time. Certainly in raids against bosses, if you want to do it like that, or dungeons, or if you're doing reclaim activities and you are constantly going against all the harder, you're seeking out the harder enemies and taking them down as opposed to just mowing enemies down as you go along. But Child of the Old Gods, to me, unless you're doing like high Grandmaster or almost ultimate activity where you're just dumping bullet after bullet into bullet sponges and every enemy is a bullet sponge, Child of the Old Gods, I don't think you'll take as much advantage of as you would in something like a raid or a dungeon where there is specific damage encounters that you could use this to your benefit. For fragments, first up on the list is going to be Echo of Expulsion. Void ability, Final Blows, cause targets to explode. Plus 10 years super, I don't really care about that. I like the explosions, okay? It's probably the most aesthetically pleasing thing that you can have when you are a Voidwalker. It's just nice to see purple exploding into purple and so on and so forth. Next up is going to be Echo of Remnants, your lingering grenade effects, Vortex Grenade, Void Wall, Void Spike, and of course, Axion Bolt have increased duration. That is going to be really powerful when combined with the Axion Bolt, which is also combined with our first aspect. Next up is Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. Of course, volatile rounds pierce the shields of barrier champs. Now, if there is one of these that you may want to sub out, this is probably the one that I flip-flop the most, and I'll explain why. One of the things that you can substitute for this is going to be Echo of Persistence. Void buffs apply to you. Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour have increased duration. That's going to be really powerful when you get into higher end content, which means your Devour, if you're running with Feed the Void, is going to be able to last longer. To go along with that, the other one is Echo of Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power grants Devour. Now, how you decide how you want to proc Devour is totally up to you. Feed the Void is the easiest to kickstart it. You don't have to pick up an Orb of Power. You don't have to run anywhere. You just have to defeat a target with the Void ability. That includes your super. But if you want additional ways to grant yourself or refresh Devour, Echo of Starvation, or maybe if you're not using a Void weapon, Echo of Starvation might just fit the bill a little bit better for you. If you do have Echo of Starvation on, and you aren't worried about having to pick up Orbs of Power or Void Breaches because you are using Void weapons or things like that, it's feasible that you might be able to take off Feed the Void and put on Child of the Old Gods. This is the only fragment that can actually proc you Devour, and again, Devour extends the more kills that you get. So theoretically, depending on how you look at it, you can either have Infinite Devour if you have this on and Feed the Void, or you can have an additional way to proc Devour without having Feed the Void on and still receive the same benefits. So you'll have to make that decision when you're picking different activities. And once we go through the weapons, you'll see I'm not running a Void weapon. So this is kind of the more powerful one, in my opinion, having the Void, having the volatile rounds, but you'll have to make that determination on your own. Last but not least is Echo of Harvest. Defeating weakened targets creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. We'll be weakening everything with our Axiom Bolt thanks to our exotic armor, which we'll get to here in a second. And this is just going to help us spawn Orbs of Power and Void Breaches. So again, going back to this one, if you were to put on Echo of Starvation, these two would theoretically work in tandem. For stat distribution, I recommend speccing into weapons, grenade, and then super in that order. The reason that I don't have very high class or health is, yes, kind of because I don't have masterworked rolls of all my armor, because I've been just, up until recently, we didn't have a lot of unstable cores to play with, so I've been building these builds without masterworking all the armor that I've been using. So that's kind of the I don't know, the harsh reality of trying to experiment with so many builds is that you're going through tons of unstable cores. And again, we just got the update recently, and I haven't been going through and going through all my builds and finalizing all of the masterworks. But yeah, so that's why the health stat and the class stat is so low. But getting back to what you should focus on, you want grenades to be over 100, at least a 101. I know that might seem kind of pointless, but at least 101, you get a little bit of extra benefit. Again, keyword little. Same thing with the super. You want it to be over 100. Ideally, we would have these somewhere in the neighborhood of about 120 each one, or, depending on how you want to do it. But grenades are so powerful now with the Warlock class that it's really kind of silly to put more into your super, since you're going to be using your grenade virtually infinitely in this build. And one of the best ways to add on to that carnage is having a higher weapon stat. So at 140 weapon stat, you're going to be able to guarantee yourself you're going to get another 15% damage added to it on top of the 24.9% damage if you're at 139 like I am, and if you're at 150, it's quite a bit higher, over 25%. So these two things working together are going to be very nice. And one of the reasons why I like to have a higher weapon stat is because I get a large ammo brick chance, which if I'm running with special or a special and a heavy weapon, the larger the ammo brick, the more ammo I get, which means I can theoretically use both of those weapons more. And again, we're going to get into that here actually right now. For weapons, I'm going to go through what I have immediately equipped and then talk about what you can substitute. Immediately equipped, I have Giver's Blessing, Unfall, and Microcosm. Unfall, I swap in and out for pretty much whatever I want. The energy weapon is kind of dealer's choice as far as what you want. Giver's Blessing is perfect for this build if you pair it with Tech Sec Armor, because not only can you roll this with Demolitionist and Kinetic Tremors, but with Tech Sec Armor, you'll get the additional disorienting kinetic shockwave. And it's one of the reasons why Giver's Blessing is so popular with me personally on most of my builds, because I have a spot for it thanks to the Tech Sec Armor. But if you wanted to spec into kind of the strengths of the artifact, then you, of course, could throw on the Mint Retrograde. You could throw on the Ahab Char, which is like either the number 1 or the number 2 auto rifle in the game right now being used. And you, of course, can put on Unwavering Duty. Microcosm is great here as well, so that's why I roll with it, but I know not everyone has Microcosm, and if you don't, I promise you 1,000 times over, it is worth the grind to get Microcosm. Go get Microcosm. I promise you, you will not regret it. Other substitutes for Giver's Blessing could be Outbreak Perfected, also Force Memorializer. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. If you haven't gotten one of these yet, man, when you do, it's going to be hard to take off. And then in the energy slot, if you want to switch into Void, you can throw on Third Iteration. You can put on Aisha's Embrace. And the reason that Fortunate Star and Aisha's Embrace work, for example, is because you're going to be proccing volatile rounds. Well, really any of these Void weapons. So if you have the Fragment on there for proccing volatile rounds, suddenly these weapons gain an instant damage boost to that, as well as kind of a cool looking aesthetic on the screen. The heavy weapon, I just can't stop using Unwavering Duty. I know you only see 70 kills there, but I'm doing the bait and switch, and then I'm using other weapons, and I'm doing bait and switch, and then usually my other weapons is what ends up finishing the last sliver of most, bosses and whatever, because I end up running out of ammo. Unwavering Duty, when Trials comes back, definitely grind for one. It is well worth the effort. Yes, I know you got to go through Trials, but it's worth it. So any of these options will work good. Just pick whatever weapons you think would work best. But I highly recommend at least getting one weapon that has Demolitionist on it. And the easiest one to get out of all of these is going to be Giver's Blessing. So Controverse Hold, I'm certainly not the only person to do a video about it, but this is just kind of my take. Controverse Hold is definitely getting its time in the spotlight. Not that Controverse Hold was ever really a bad exotic armor, but there's just so many other super spams and melee spams, that you can do with Warlock. The Controverse Hold didn't really have as big of a grasp on the Warlock community as, these other options when you're running with the Prismatic class, because the Prismatic class is the dominant class. But I will say, for the old faithful, the old timers that love their Void Walker, some of those people have not taken Controverse Hold off ever. Its main trait, Chaotic Exchanger, resists incoming damage when charging your Void Grenade with Chaos Accelerant. Charge Void Grenades, return grenade energy on a hit and apply Weaken. So this is another thing that you can kind of take advantage of. All of your Void Grenades are going to proc Weakening, which means all of the projectiles from your Void Grenades, your Axiom Bolts, are also going to proc Weakening. So every enemy that you chuck this at is going to not only refund you grenade energy, which, by the way, you have 2 stacks of Axiom Bolt, in case you didn't catch that, and it will also apply Weakening on top of it. So it's a lot of good things to love here, and because, the grenade stat has become so popular now recently with the Bungie changes, Controverse Hold is in a really great state. And this is factoring in the very obvious fact that it is a Solar Strand and Stasis artifact. So in the future, if we get a Void artifact, or an artifact that favors Void and debuffing and all this stuff, Chaotic Exchanger is going to be even more potent in the future. And, oh, by the way, it is a featured exotic as well, Controverse Hold. For the rest of the armor, go ahead and spec into whatever general armor mod that you need. For the helmet, you can kind of throw on how you want to do it. You can roll with Ashes to Assets. I recommend that for quick super regen. You can roll double Ashes to Assets and get even quicker super regen. Heavy Ammo Finder is usually on most of my builds. And then I have a Kinetic Siphon. Now, if I wanted to run 3 3 energy mods here. I would have to drop this grenade mod down to a 1 energy cost so that I could fit the extra energy cost here. This would be if you want to run Solar and Strand Siphon, or I guess technically Solar and Stasis Siphon, but Solar and Strand is really where it's at this season. Stasis is just kind of an afterthought, unfortunately. But that's the way that you can still run the Void class, but have the benefits of some of the newer weapons like Mint Retrograde and Ahab Char and all those things. For the exotic armor, make sure you have on 3 firepower. You are going to essentially have infinite grenade energy. The only way that this wouldn't apply is if you have problems hitting things with grenades, in which case you should probably hit the shooting range anyways, because it's not that hard to use since Axiom Bolt tracks. But 3 of these will net you orbs of power on top of orbs of power. It'll be raining orbs of power. And even when I'm not playing really sweatily, and I'm just, yes, that's an official word, by the way, sweatily, you can coin that. I'm still doing more orbs of power than someone in my, random fire team during a portal activity that seems like they're kind of sweating, speeding around. You're not going super fast with this, and to be able to put out the kind of power that you can with a Void Walker just in general is really, really nice. For the chest armor, go ahead and put on 2 elemental damage resistance mods. And then for me personally, I have the kinetic ammo generation mod. This means every kill that I get with a kinetic damage weapon nets me increased ammo generation progress. For the legs, go ahead and put on Innervation, and I recommend putting on double Absolution. It doesn't take that much time to get your grenade back when you do use 2 in a row. So Absolution is nice because all those orbs of power that you pick up get evenly spread between all of your abilities. Finally, for the class item, go ahead and put on Class Font because you're going to need the buff if you want your Healing Rift to work pretty much ever if it's at the low stat that I am at. Make sure you throw on Reaper so you get a free Orb of Power, and then when you pick up that Orb of Power, or when you use your class ability, I should say, make sure you have on Bomber, reduces your grenade cooldown when using your class ability. For the artifact, in the first column, make sure you put on Anti-Barrier Scout and Pulse Rifle. Unstoppable Sidearm and Hand Cam is just my preference. And then Overload Rapid Fire. Now, you can pick whatever weapons that you want, so long as you spec into kind of the gameplay that what we were talking about when we were going over the weapons. It's really, truly dealer's choice, and you're going to see that here real quick. In the second column, I've got Flame, Fiber, and Freeze in case I want to switch out to Solar and Strand. I've also got the Light Forge Lead because I am using kinetic weapons. I don't really much care about the Rapid Precision Rifling, but if I do put on Aisha's Embrace or Third Iteration, that is nice to have. I'm not really sure if it makes that much of a difference in my opinion, but, for those who always hit their crits all the time, it might. In the third column, make sure you have on Refresh Threads, put on Reciprocal Draw if you're running a sidearm, and of course, Fever and Chill so you can proc Radiant with your Ahab Char if you do so choose to put that on this build. In the fourth column, make sure you have an Elemental Coalescence so that you get your elemental pickups. And then if you're running kinetic weapon, make sure you put on that Fresh Bullets smell because of the increased weapon damage when you pick up an ammo brick, which also means you got to be switching through all of your weapons. Finally, in the final column, go ahead and put on Radiant Shrapnel if you are going to be running a solar weapon. If you are not, kindly switch that out to Elemental Overdrive. Picking up an Elemental Pickup or Tangle grants increased damage to weapons of the same element. Now again, this kind of only works if you are running a Void weapon. So what you're going to take away more than anything is Shield Crush. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or in our case, Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. That's a big bump because Pocket Singularity, in my opinion, is terrible. I don't like Pocket Singularity. I'm not using Pocket Singularity to clear out anything. I do use it when it's readily available and I have a red bar ad in front of me, but I'm really not even expecting it to kill that. Pocket Singularity, in my opinion, does need a rework. It's not up to par. I mean, even with the Stasis Melee, even the Stasis Melee, in my opinion, is better than Pocket Singularity. And there's Voidwalkers over there probably, going, Durf, what are you even talking about? I love Pocket Singularity. It debuffs, it does all. Yeah, I know all that. But when I use my abilities, I want my abilities to destroy my enemies. I don't just want some debuff. I want real-time results. And I want to have confidence that if I chuck this thing at a major or a champ, it might actually do some damage instead of just weaken because I got enough things going on with my Axiom Bolt, my Controverse Hold, and of course some of the weapon choices I have for dealing with champs and or bosses that Pocket Singularity could be more useful. Think of it like if there was a Pocket Singularity version of like the Arcane Needle. That would be ridiculous and probably, I mean, honestly, really fun to use. So not saying that anyone's got to come up with that idea at Bungie, but hey, if you're listening, consider it. Excuse me. That is my quick run through for the Voidwalker Spooky Time build. Certainly with Halloween right around the corner, there's going to be some spooky builds out there, and this is definitely one of them. You are not moving particularly fast with this build. You are not, racing around the battlefield like you would with Arc. You're not scorching everything to death like you would be with Solar. And of course, with Strands, you don't have your green buddies like that. So what you're essentially doing is floating around this battlefield, or I guess portal activity, or whatever you're doing. Raid. I just used this in a raid not that long ago. And you're just essentially controlling everything. Everything that you do with this, build is just manipulating the battlefield so that you can just level it into nothing even faster. And yes, you can do that with other classes and other builds, certainly. But with the addition of the grenade stat now being kind of meta, can I use that word? I can use that word because grenades are meta right now. Now these Voidwalker classes, and again, I just went through it when I was talking about the armor. We don't have any Void love for Void in the artifact. So think about in the future, this build, when there is some Void love in there, and we just had a season where, we were able to proc volatile rounds with precision shots and all those things. If any variation of that comes back, this build is going to be basically glued to every Warlock's hip. And most Warlocks have a really good Void build. Most Warlocks have a Void build that works for them, whether it's Controverse Hold or there's something else. So I'm not really going over anything that's brand new. And I'm not really saying anything that, there aren't other content creators out there, given Controverse Hold and Voidwalker its time in the spotlight. But during a season where Solar and Strand have absolutely just dominated the meta, this was a nice change from Bungie with, how the grenade is working and now all these different things that you can do. And not that you couldn't do that before with this class, but I don't know, it just feels better. It just feels better with this build. And I think it can feel even better in the future. So maybe save this one. Maybe you're not using this when you're doing, your ultimate activities, although I would recommend trying it. But in the future, when there is an artifact that's got some Void love in it, bust this build back out. Remember this little talk we had here, and I'm telling you, it's going to be as crazy as the buddy builds are right now. So if you did find anything helpful in this video, please consider liking and subscribing. If you know a Guardian out there who is looking for a great Void build, or maybe has never really experimented with Void on their Warlock because they're obsessed about the buddy builds or whatever going on right now, please consider sharing this video with them or send them my way. My goal is to help as many people as possible. As always, I will have a dim link in the video description, and if by chance you guys are looking for a non-toxic gaming community, I highly recommend hopping into my Discord. It is booming with activity. People just helping people, get things done. Proverbial power grind. We got the new Pinnacle mission. There's a lot of things to do. Get things situated before Renegades comes. Renegades will be here in 45 days, somewhere in there. We'll call it 60 days. Basically about 2 months. So, getting in a community where other people are able to help you and you can run some fire team things quicker and get things done, get your power levels up so you can get some more tier 4 and tier 5 gear. All good things going on in my Discord. And quick shout out, the channel did just hit 3,000 subs. To put that in perspective, when I started this year, so 2025, I had 125 on my channel. So I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been sharing my stuff, giving me positive vibes, good feedback, positive and negative and constructive and all that good stuff. I welcome it all. So make sure you guys, drop a line in the comments. Let me know how you would change things up with this build, and how it's been working for you. So I'm going to switch over now to the boss battle and we will wrap it up. So here we go with the boss battle. Again, I just want to take a minute and thank everyone for checking out my channel. It's been an amazing year as far as feedback and growth. I look back at how some of my videos looked at the beginning of the year and I look at how they look now. And between all the feedback and help and suggestions I've gotten from viewers, members of my Discord, and of course paid subscribers, big shout out to you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been quite a journey so far, and it hasn't even been a full year since I started doing this regularly. And I just want to thank everyone. But getting back to the build, look, when people were telling me that they were using Void during a season that featured Solar, Strand, and Stasis, I was kind of like, well, Void has always been good, okay? There's always a niche love of Void, whether you're a Hunter, whether you're a Warlock, even Titans have their Void-specific builds, and they kind of transcend time, all three of those characters. But with Bungie's changes to grenades, buddy builds, and things of that nature, of course, with the addition of going over 100 with grenades, going over 100 with weapon stats, featured weapons, and all that jazz, everything, and I've been saying this, I feel like in almost all my videos, everything is it's just different now. It's not the same as it was. You're no longer chasing just a 100 stat with no benefit if you go over that. Now you are, you know, arguably able to overpower yourself through your own ambition, through your own creativity, and with some of these builds, even like classic builds like your Voidwalker, Warlock, it's just, everything is just a little bit different now. And you see on the screen here, even when it's not busy, I pretty much have all my abilities. I've already procced my super a second time, and I don't even know how long that took, but I guarantee it wasn't that long. And I'm just goofing around in an activity that has, what, a minus 20 or minus 30 power delta. I mean, when you look at things like that, when you think of where the game was before all these changes happened, this was before even the buddy builds became meta. Now it's just more insane than ever, all of this build crafting. So anyways, I hope you guys liked the video. If you did find anything helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. Share it with a Guardian in need, and feel free to hop in my Discord if you are looking for fellow Guardians to game with. I will see you guys next time. Take care.